Then there was the case of one Dr. D.E. Cameron of the Allen Memorial Institute at McGill University. His experiments centered around attempts at what he called de-patterning. His typical subject would be a 50s-style housewife who'd had a nervous breakdown, perhaps exhibiting moderately schizophrenic tendencies. The good doctor would subject this unwitting participant to a great many abuses, including massive electroshock treatments many times stronger than conventionally applied, days after days of long periods of drug-induced sleep, repeated applications of powerful hallucinogens, and hours of tape loops containing extremely disturbing material, something he called psychic driving. All this insane crap would be forced on some poor housewife type in attempt to wipe away her defective personality, ostensibly to be replaced with a more obedient and normal personality. All this work, of course, was secretly funded by the CIA. Dr. Cameron, as it turns out, was president of the American Psychiatric Association, president of the Canadian Psychiatric Association, president of the World Psychiatric Association. Just goes to show you.
The CIA gave me LSD numerous times. After my first experience with this bit trick, I could see through people. The special CIA LSD gave me special powers. I love the LSD and I love the CIA. CIA LSD is wholesome and kids love to have some on a church picnic. Might I interest you in some CIA LSD, Mr. Don Joyce? The CIA knows that Don Joyce loves LSD and we want to give him some. Have some LSD, Mr. Over the Edge, Mr. Don Joyce, Mr. Radio Man. We all need LSD. The CIA
gave me LSD numerous times. After my first experience with this bit trick, I could see through people. The special CIA LSD powers. I love the LSD. CIA LSD is wholesome, and kids love to have some on the church picnic. Might I interest you in some CIA? Joyce, the CIA knows that Joyce loves LSD and wants to give him some. Have some LSD, Mr. Over the Edge, Mr. Duck. Joyce, Mr. Radio Man. We all need LSD. Might I interest you in some CIA LSD, Mr.
Then one by one, the children in the neighborhood began to disappear. And so did their kittens and puppies.
Quite a coincidence.
Grown-ups and kittens and puppies.
Yes.
He was a little round man, and into the grinder he went.
Coincidence.
There's always a policeman on duty.
Now, what do you intend to report to the committee?
She could not bear to leave the corpse on the road for other cars to hit and squash.
4, 4, 2, 5. Be careful.
8, 2, 1. 8, 2, 1.
Okay.
2, 1.
Okay.
8, 2, 1. It's not funny. 0, 4.
Okay.
7, 0, 4. 4,
Let's
2,
get down to business.
4, 2, 6, 0, 0, 8, 3, 6,
4,
0, 0,
8,
3, 5,
4,
3, 8, 2, 1.
4,
It's not 5, 3, 8, 2,
2,
1. 5, 3, 9, 3, 3, 5, 3, 9, 3.
excellent job.
Mathematically, a cryptographic transposition process generates a permutation of the input data. That is, the data are simply rearranged. The shuffle algorithm is a convenient way to construct one of the many possible rearrangements at random. How many possible arrangements are there? Suppose the block has n different elements. The first element can be positioned in impossible places, the second in n1, the third in n2, and so on, for a total of n1, n2, 1 for n factorial possibilities. So the probability of getting the correct deciphering at random would seem to be 1 out of n. This is very encouraging since factorials can yield some really remarkable values. For example, a 64-element block would be considered rather small, yet the probability of correctly deciphering such a block at random would seem to be 1 out of 64, or about 1 in 10 circumflex 89. Unfortunately, the usual situation is somewhat more complex, since a data block is not constrained to have just one occurrence of any particular data value. But when there are multiple occurrences of the same value, it surely cannot matter which of those goes in which position when deciphering. So multiple reverse permutations will each generate a correct deciphering, though most of these will yield no information about how the block was permuted. There are k different permutations which produce the same deciphering for k occurrences of any particular value. Consequently, there are k1, k2, chi equivalent decipherings for chi occurrences of each value. So the probability of getting one of the correct decipherings is a product k1, k2, chi of a total of n possible decipherings for block size n. Note that all but one of the correct decipherings represent an incorrect permutation, so even if the correct deciphering is known, finding the particular permutation involved should be exceedingly difficult.
Did I miss something funny, Comrade Bentley? Something very funny, Comrade Smitty. Well, if you're not going to let me in on it, I'll see that he gets away in plenty of time.
Thank you.
Did I miss something funny, Comrade Bentley? Something very funny, Comrade Smitty. Well, if you're not going to let me in on it,
I will expect to hear from you later this evening, Comrade Stacy.
All right. I'll see that he gets away in plenty of time.
Thank you.
Did I miss something funny, Comrade Bentley? Something very funny, Comrade Smitty. Well, if you're not going to let me in on it. Did I miss something funny, Comrade Bentley? Something very funny, Comrade Smitty. Well, if you're not going to let me in on it, maybe you'd better start briefing me on the project. Oh, well, it's quite simple. Our job has a dual purpose. In other words, the party gets the money, someone else gets the blame. That's about right.
This is Receptacle Control. You're listening to Over the Edge here on KPFA in Berkeley. KFCF is also in Berkeley. KPFB is in Berkeley. I'm sorry, we got our call letters scrambled there. KFCF is in Fresno. That is if you have the right code.
Sites had already been introduced into
This is Spooked.
these active compounds, with the exception of the sugar portion.
Go ahead, you're transmitting.
It's a perfect setup.
Glycosides, and on the other hand their close structural relationship with the toxic principles isolated from steel ends of clothes.
Now fools like Comrade Miller want this gold mine stopped. Well, I haven't been told anything about any part of this.
Be sure this is the right way. Trust me,
As a Turkish Russian Canadian one, so
we come up in a place that looks like East Los Angeles, only ugly. Open shops with cheap merchandise and synthetic clothes, shoes and polyester pants.
They also are using the pictures furnished with a false identity and given an agency produced fake American passport.
West we ask directions.
Mercator later spent
We have come to the wrong place.
Stage of total
Go back to the metro. 4 steps.
States and
It is
cities
packed and stuffy, crowded like the New York subway.
also leaders who are
It is beginning to rain again.
and persuaded
It is too late now.
whereas Mexicans will be assumed
I must be
Frank
back by
Jackson.
3. I'm expected. There's the party of the ambassadors this evening.
The aim is to penetrate the host government, learn its inner workings,
He's
manipulate
leaving
its
in 2
agents'
days.
credit.
If I do not call, he will understand.
Subsequent refusals of the house in Avenue de Vienna gradually
I take the metro 2 stops back to where I started from.
he continued to reconnoiter the house
Sky is
and find
dark.
constantly.
It begins to
Over a period
clear.
of months, he gained Trotsky's
I take a photograph of him sitting on the couch
He
under an
undertook a
umbrella.
political article which he asked
The
Trotsky to
meeting
approve.
goes on.
And it was at one of those meetings about the
I walked back
on
to the
August 17th,
car.
1954, that he
It was
presented himself
thunder.
with ice axe,
Raining
dagger,
very hard.
and pistol under his clothes,
His father
and pressed
from
his
school.
for the action.
Penetration includes not only government organizations,
He was
but
jammed
youth,
with both
labor,
sides.
and cultural organizations, communications media, and dissident
He asked
political
me if I
groups.
told Julie about him.
Cater entered the house and drove an ice
Yes,
axe
of course I
against his
said.
skull.
Wondering what they wanted to tell. He didn't ask about our
Here's a
relationship.
structure which led to this
I didn't
would sound
explain.
like anger,
Easier that
severely,
way.
and
It is
Deeply
3:10.
embedded within the clandestine
I'm alone
mentality
in the
is
apartment.
the belief that human ethics
settle
and
down
social
and
laws
sleep.
have no bearing
With a
on
blanket.
covert operations
Hot
or their
Russian tea.
practitioners.